From Washington, this is VOA News. New U.S. warnings on flights to Russia for the Olympics. Syria misses another chemical weapons deadline. I'm Ray Kugel reporting from Washington. New warnings from the U.S. Homeland Security Office, warning airlines that fly into Russia to watch out for toothpaste tubes that may be filled with bomb-making materials. The officials say there is no specific threat at this time and is giving no details on the intelligence that prompted the warnings. The Winter Olympics opened Friday in Sochi, Russia. President Vladimir Putin visited the Olympics Village Wednesday and said that security remains a major concern. That's because Islamic extremists are threatening to disrupt the Games. The Obama administration froze the assets of 3 leaders of the Pakistan-based Haqqani Network militant group. The State Department has already declared the Taliban-linked group a terrorist organization. The United States blames it for a number of attacks on Western interests in Afghanistan. Syria failed to meet another key deadline for turning over its chemical weapons stockpile as part of an internationally brokered agreement. Under a February 5th deadline set by the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, Syria was to have given up its complete stockpile. Syria has so far sent only 2 shipments of chemicals to be destroyed, amounting to less than 5% of its stockpile. Multiple bombs exploded in Iraq's capital, Baghdad, killing at least 32 people and wounding more than 30 others Wednesday. The blast struck near Baghdad's fortified Green Zone, including 2 car bombs that blew up outside the Foreign Ministry. There's been no claim of responsibility for those attacks. The United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child have issued a blistering condemnation of the Vatican. The committee is making the unprecedented demand that the Vatican immediately remove all clergy accused of child abuse and turn them over to civil authorities. Lisa Schlein has more.
UN Committee on the Rights of the Child Chairwoman Kirsten Sandberg says the committee is concerned by Vatican policies and practices. She says these have led to the continued abuse of children while letting the perpetrators of crimes escape justice.
The Holy See has consistently placed the preservation of the reputation of the Church and the protection of the perpetrators above children's best interests.
The committee was critical of what it called a code of silence imposed by the Vatican on all members of the clergy under penalty of excommunication. As a consequence, it says few cases of child sexual abuse have been reported to national law enforcement. Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
North and South Korea have agreed to resume the reunions of families separated by the 1950s Korean War. South Korea's Unification Ministry says the deal was reached Wednesday during a meeting at the Panmunjom border village. The reunions will take place from February 20th until the 25th at the Mount Kumgang Resort on North Korea's east coast. Prospects for putting Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta on trial at the International Criminal Court appear to be dwindling. Lisa Bryant has details.
At a hearing at the International Criminal Court on Wednesday, prosecutor Benjamin Gumpert acknowledged his team had exhausted what he called reasonable prospects of prosecuting Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. He said the Kenyan government was blocking efforts to access Mr. Kenyatta's financial records. The prosecution says those records might indicate his role in funding Kenya's post-electoral violence 6 years ago, which killed more than 1,000 people. Mr. Kenyatta's trial at the ICC has already been postponed several times. The prosecution acknowledges it currently lacks sufficient evidence to go ahead. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Paris.
Mr. Kenyatta and Deputy Vice President William Ruto both face crimes against humanity charges related to Kenya's 2008 post-electoral violence. A major American drugstore chain says that by October it will stop selling all cigarettes and tobacco products. The CVS Caremark chain, with more than 7,100 stores, says that cigarettes and tobacco products have no place in its outlets as it seeks to become more of a healthcare provider. The chain says ending the tobacco sales will cost it $2 billion in yearly revenue. The action was applauded by President Obama, who is a former smoker. Mr. Obama said the company's action will have a profoundly positive impact on the health of our country. I'm Ray Kugel, VOA News. Details on these and other stories on our website at voanews.com.
bring in, as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Oh, yeah. It's Wednesday. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host, coming to you from deep within the bowels of the great state of Wisconsin. You know, everybody's got the little taglines. Everybody's got their tag. I don't have a tagline. You know, I really don't. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is Wednesday, February 5th. Is it 2014? That's right. This is a live show. You can join us here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. Wow, what a day. What an incredible day. We're going to have to back it down. It looks like I got my microphone, Joe. It looks like, we'll see. We'll see. We changed out a module. We'll see if that works for us. See if we keep it to the left tonight. But, you know, you got to admit, it is kind of ironic that the left channel went out. The right channel stayed on. So all of us on the right side of this fight can hear the arguments. It was a conspiracy. We'll find out. But what a day. What a day. Spent a day, obviously, Patriot FB. For those that are out there that go out to the patriotfb.com site, we have been doing some work on it, adding and taking away and securing and doing all of those things. It's amazing. We have a new policy. For those existing members, you guys aren't going through this, unlike the new members, where the new members are vetted. We actually compare their IPs against databases, hacker databases, and stuff like that. Some pretty cool technology that was provided to us by Cisco. And, we still, we still will weed out about 80% of the people that sign up are in these databases. Now, if you are listening to this show and you unfortunately have got yourself put into this database because of actions of someone who owns, it's like a cell phone. Have you ever bought a brand new cell phone? Get your cell phone, you're all happy with it, you get it home, you get it all programmed, and about 3 o'clock in the morning you get a phone call. Hey, we're in jail. I've gotten one of those calls. It's hilarious. I like messing with them. And and then of course the credit people call, and there's the stuff called PCI compliance. They're supposed to, not HIPAA, but PCI. They're supposed to verify that you are who you are. All the time. I mean, I haven't had a new cell phone in a while. The last cell phone I had that number for like 8 years, and then finally it just went kaput. And my old provider was going to charge me, believe it or not, to have the number ported over. And so I just said, forget about it. Get a new number anyways. So, so I got this new, got my new cell phone. And, of course, I get phone calls on it. And it's a blast. It's a great time having fun with the bill collectors as they're looking for Larisha, or whatever they're looking for. It was Larisha was her name. So, of course, I had to be her boyfriend. So I had a good time. Should record those things. We should record those. But what a day. So, yeah, for all of you old members, you guys are very lucky. You got in under the radar. But, of course, we know who you are, and you've contributed greatly to the success of Patriot FB. All the new members, yes, we have to go through a little bit more of a check to make sure you are who you say you are to a point. We're not going to NSA you, but we're going to validate to make sure you're not on some of these lists, known hacker spam bots. And then if you feel that you have been denied or banned for a reason that's not in your control, you can always email me or tell your friends if they got banned. Jeff@themidnightpatriot.com. That's Jeff@themidnightpatriot.com. Also, when you tell your friends, make sure you let them know who referred you. So that way, if we have to reach out to them or whatever, they can tell us that. And then, of course, you can vouch for them. But what a day. What a day. So far, it's holding fast, Joe. We're out right, we're out left. I think we're stereo today. So we've been able to carry on a good 4 minutes now without it fading out. So I think we're good. I think we're good. Thank gosh. Because one of the new boards are about $2,000 that we just don't have right now as we spin up new servers and everything. So, but yes, you are listening to the Midnight Patriot. We're going to talk about it. It is Wednesday. No guests. If you'd like to give us a call in at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. I'd love to hear from you. But before we do all of that, we got to take care of a little business. Don't think I forgot, my friends. Don't think I forgot.
Following words were spoken by the late Red Skelton on his television program as he related the story of his teacher, Mr. Laswell, who felt his students had come to think of the Pledge of Allegiance as merely something to recite in class each day. Now, more than ever, listen to the meaning of these words. I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. May I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one. Pledge, dedicate all my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion. To the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts, freedom is everybody's job. United, that means that we've all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states, 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, and not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands one nation. One nation meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or quality of dealing fairly with others, for all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance, under God. Now, wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that's a prayer, and that it would be eliminated from schools too? God bless America.
The great Charlie Daniels. Actually, I was listening to Red Skelton's original script for that. And I'm trying to get a master copy. I'm trying to get a copy that's actually studio quality or thereabouts. It's pretty rough out there. And we'll get it. We'll find it. I will find it in the National Archives. We'll go somewhere. We'll get it for you. But without further ado, please rise, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the organic Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same, and I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I'm about to enter, so help me God. So help me God. A little explaining here for some of our new listeners that are joining us for the first time. You'll notice that we changed a portion of that oath. I want to point out two things for you. Number one, the organic Constitution. You need to become educated in the real Constitution of the United States. And you can do that right here at patriotfbradio.com every Monday through Friday from 10 to 11 p.m. Central with Resurrect the Republic. The host, Thomas, talks about the 14th Amendment and the corruption and how that took away and made us basically slaves to the corporation. And, great show. Just an outstanding show that he produces here right here at Patriot Radio, patriotfb.radio. Or patriotfb.com/radio. But, so that's why we pledge to the organic, not to the one that was enacted, added the 14th Amendment, that bound us to the corporations, but to the organic, the one that our true forefathers wanted us to follow. The second part, too, obviously, we talk about the office which we're going to hold. I will tell you straight out, the most important office in this land is the office of citizen. It's not politicians, it's not senators, not congressmen, but it is the U.S. citizen. We have a duty. We have an obligation to our family, to our country, to our community, to our fellow citizens, to hold fast to those words that we just spoke, to believe in them, to live by them, and most importantly, to understand the last part of that, so help me God. Putting our faith and our belief into something that is greater than ourselves, greater than any nation, any planet. That's what it's all about, my friends. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. Join me here live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. We'll get over there during the breaks and take a chat.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
I'm Eric Kipple, 10-year veteran of the NFL.
And I'm Captain Mark McNeil, 16-year veteran of the Army National Guard. Whether on the playing field or the battlefield, you must be both physically and mentally fit.
If you're injured, you owe it to yourself and your teammates to get back to peak performance. It doesn't matter if you've got a broken bone, depression, a traumatic brain injury, PTSD, or another psychological wound.
Getting help shows strength, not weakness.
To find out more, go to realwarriors.net or call 866-966-1020.
So this ain't the end. Barracuda.
You're listening to Jeff Norton of the Midnight Patriot Radio Show, and that is Heart Barracuda. Classic. Hey, get around to during the day. Get over to patriotfb.com. Click on the radio icon. Listen to some of the great classic music that we play during the day here when we're not doing our shows. I was listening today myself. Had it jamming. As I was doing work, had it playing in the background. It was awesome. Some great music. It's incredible. Love the DJ. It's all computerized, by the way. But get out there. Tell your friends about it. I know. I'm a Pandora fan too. I listen to Pandora and some of the XM and Sirius, and when I'm in the truck and everything. But I'll have to tell you, since we started up the radio, I don't now. I keep it pretty much pegged to patriotfb.com all day long. Even during the shows, when I'm working, I'll have them in the background playing and everything. And it's just, look. Now, granted, a lot of you guys out there go, well, of course you're going to support it. It's your radio station. It's not my radio station. These are not my shows. These are our shows. We produce and put these out there pretty much free of charge. Don't charge you anything. We don't charge you, $5 a month user fee or whatever to get special podcasts or to talk to the host. You can pick up the phone and call me, or you can text me or message me. I'll talk to you. We don't do that. We put these out there for you free of charge. Now, I got to tell you, when you think about Pandora, when you listen to a Pandora site or an XM, they don't care who you are. They don't care about your beliefs. They don't care. It's all about the numbers. I was actually thinking tonight, I was sitting there watching TV sitting down having a little time with Sandy and having a little brain drain. And I was watching TV. And, I come to this conclusion now that they actually make TV shows to entice advertisers. Now let me kind of back up here. Let me, if you agree with me or disagree, give me a call. 1-800-580-4870. It's 1-800-580-4870. But bear with me here. Let me kind of tell you what I was thinking. I had this thought that media now is all about selling you something. If it's not selling you a social agenda, if it's not selling you a car or what your spouse should look like or what you should look like, or selling you some pharmaceutical drug to pick you up and another one to bring you down. But, I've come to the conclusion, I was watching TV tonight, and I was thinking, I'm always about, it's not what they tell you. That's where the truth lies. Listen to what they don't tell you. Or listen between the message. So now, I aggravate Sandy all the time. When I watch a TV show or I'll watch an advertisement, I'm looking at the stuff in the background. The subliminal stuff. And, it's crazy. There is a ton of subliminal messaging. When I watch a lot of shows, I look at the posters. I look, especially the cop shows. I look at the posters on the wall. I don't even, I kind of look through the storyline and go right there. And I've come to the conclusion that most mainstream media now produces shows so that they can then suck in advertisers. It used to be where they would produce the show and an advertiser would want to be on that show because of a demographic. I actually think now, if you look at most of the shows that are produced, most of the shows, if not all of the shows, are now geared towards the number one advertising, the group of people that sell or that buy, the younger, the 20-somethings. Have you not noticed that? And so now a lot of your TV shows are, that's why they're dumbed down. There's not intelligent TV on. I can't remember last time actually watching a TV show and being enlightened or learning something. I watch my Novas and everything. Even Mythbusters. I used to like the science show like Mythbusters. I mean, they got corny too. It's like dealing with a bunch of high school kids. There's no real intellectual shows anymore. So that's just a thought. Just a thought. So when you're watching a TV show, I'll tell you, look beyond. Look on the walls. Look at the box of Fruity Flakes or whatever that's on the table. Look at that stuff. It's pretty interesting. There's a lot of subliminal marketing going on. Then also listen to some of the commentary, the comments and how they portray that. Talking about commentary, that they're talking about having a first, I know that we've had started out in the 70s and 80s with, homosexuality innuendos, and remember Three's a Crowd or Three's Company, and, it was all innuendo, tongue-in-cheek. Oh, there we go. We lost our left channel. So it looks like I'm getting a new board. So it was all tongue-in-cheek. 80s, it was kind of risque. It was kind of, watch tonight as two women kiss, or we show the backside of so-and-so, right? Now it's just in your face. I mean, now they're coming out with open homosexuality, open, stuff that, look, I'll tell you, Sandy and I have known each other since we were in high school, sophomores, high school. It's a long time. We don't, we'll hold hands in public. We'll joke and stuff, but we're not out sucking face, as they would say. There's some things that you just do at home, and there's some things you do in public. You can show affection for someone without, checking their tonsils, right? But now it's commonplace. And like I said, I don't care what you do in your bedroom. That's between you and whoever. But, don't put it on TV. Don't put it on TV. And, of course, they always fall back and say, well, you can always change the channel. Well, you're correct. I can change the channel. And in most cases, I do. That's why, don't want to put one of those Nielsen boxes here in my house. You're not going to like it. So, but that's just my thoughts for what it's worth. When we get back, we're going to take another break, obviously. A lot of you guys have commented about our breaks. This is a hard talk show break. This is kind of an industry standard. We're trying to standardize some things here. Our goal is to go mainstream eventually. Get out there, get our own channel on some of the popular satellite providers. get this message of freedom and prosperity out to our fellow Americans, our fellow patriots. But when we get back from the break, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the end of privacy. Technology. It's a great thing, but it comes with a price. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the interview of Snowden on JJ. If you guys have not listened to JJ's show, highly recommend that you get out there and listen to JJ McCarty. You can click on the refeeds here. Listen to the show, the interviews with Snowden. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But you're listening to Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot radio show. Join us here live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you'd hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Warriors should know that resources are available. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
The Outlaws with Cold and Lonesome. You're listening to Jeff Norton of the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. If you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Get over to patriotfb.com and join the chat over there. Some chat's going on. I'm watching. Mr. Stone Anthony, welcome. He's joined us. I'd like to say graces with his presence, but he's not that type of guy. That's actually an insult for Stone. I get punched in the face. I keep that up and stuff. You know, he's down to earth guy. So he's over there, probably carrying on the conversation. I know Joe's probably got his ear. probably got him in a conversation about policy, which is awesome. Excuse me, I'm just going to put the tape in, go over there and kind of join in the chat. No, for real, get out there. Join into the chats. I try to monitor them throughout the show. So if you don't want to give us a call, get on the air, you can chat there, and I'll try to pick up the topic and talk about it. If you have a suggestion or a complaint, yes, we do get those every once in a while. It's okay. It's okay to be a little upset. You know, they once said, if you're not upsetting people, you're not You're not doing anything. You know, got to be there. Got to be there. So here's a question actually from Stone. Hey, Stone, you can actually get last night's. If you go out to the player, you'll see 3 bars in the player. You click on those bars, and those will be last night's show. That's how you get the refeeds. If you want to download it, obviously, you can just go out to the Spreaker and download it directly from Spreaker. That's how you look. Question from Stone. So right before we went off the break, let's talk about the end of privacy. Now, for those, obviously, I'm a geek. I would not classify myself. I've grown up quite a bit. I would not classify myself as a basement dweller, geek. But I like technology. I like gadgets. One of the first guys to have cell phone. When it was a brick. You carried it in a suitcase. My first laptop was the size of most carry-on luggage, with a monitor that's made by IBM. With a monitor, the keyboard and the monitor, you flipped out, and it was a little green screen, no bigger than than your normal PDA. But I had it, I remember once, this is a story I'm not proud of, but it's the truth. I once dated a girl in junior high because she had a VIC-20. Commodore VIC-20. And didn't care really. I don't know at that age what is good looking or what is attractive. All I know is she had a Commodore VIC-20. I wanted to go program on her computer. I'm sure she had other intentions, believe it or not, but no. I was a computer guy. I was a computer geek. Still am. But, so I embrace technology. However, I don't think that technology should be used to violate the rights of others. Now, I know we got a caller, so I'm sure the caller's probably got an opinion. Go ahead, caller. You got an opinion on this?
Oh, Jeff, it's Matt from Lodi. You know I have an opinion.
Hey, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I really enjoyed the show last night with Stone Anthony.
Okay, great.
I felt like I got to know him a little bit.
Sure. Down there.
Still want to learn a whole lot more about him.
Sure. The best way to do that, believe it or not, he's actually on PatriotFB.com right now in the chat room, talking to some guys. But the best way to do it, believe it or not, Stone, if you go to StoneAnthony2016.com, he has all of his positions there. Now, if there's anything that you want to talk about, call that number, and you will be routed to the nearest call center in India. And no, I'm joking. I'm joking. That is actually Stone Anthony's phone number. When the guy picks up the phone, that's Stone, and you can talk to him about whatever you want to talk about. That's the type of guy he is. Absolutely, that's who he is, and that's who he will always be. So get out to his website, and there's a phone number up there. Give him a call, and talk to him.
I just might do that.
Yeah.
I really appreciated the way he handled the questions I had, and didn't take them. In a sense, I was trying to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Just wanted to see how that would be handled.
I
was impressed.
He just told me, Matt, his number is 202-787-1963.
Oh, crap. Hold on.
202-787-1693.
Awesome.
Yep. He'd love to hear from you. Also, I know for a fact he would love to hear from your son. We talked about that extensively. That he's thoroughly impressed.
He was quite tickled. He didn't quite get to hear all of the broadcast, but I was able to play some of it for him because, quite frankly, a lot of it went well past his bedtime.
Sure.
But he was able to hear some of it today, and he was a little tickled. I had mentioned the GPS thing on Facebook. I just want to reference this. I had talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
To where my GPS pings every time I get on Facebook.
Yep.
Well, I don't ever want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, and I did a little research, and it's a Facebook thing.
Absolutely. It's a
no matter what my settings are on my phone.
Yes.
Facebook, when I agree to use it, has the right to activate my GPS settings.
Yep.
And I did not realize that until I read the fine print. And you have to go in through your Facebook settings on a computer and deactivate that option.
Well, and you know, let's talk about that. You're not really you're really not deactivating it. What you're doing is that they're not caching it, or they're not saving that information. It's called geocaching. And so what they do is, like, you know, there are some people, and I don't, you know, our narcissistic world that we live in, there's some people that when they're at McDonald's or whatever, they hit a button and it says, oh, it posts on Facebook, I'm at McDonald's. And so what they do when you do those privacy settings, they're still accessing your GPS. They're still accessing it. They're just not using it for anything, but they are still gathering that information. Because they don't, you know, it's either on or it's off. It's neither. And what it is that when you say privacy, they just don't, well, they say they don't use it for any kind of marketing. See, a lot of where Facebook, a lot of people don't understand Facebook's business model, or, you know, how they make revenues. Where they make revenues is Facebook is a huge marketing firm. That's basically what they are. They aggregate all of this data about us, and then they put it together and they sell it to ad agencies. And that's exactly what they're doing. And you know, that's where their revenue comes in. That's where they make their money. So yeah. So don't think that just because you flip a switch it's gone. No, they still have your information. They just don't.
No, I just wanted to reference the fact that, you know what, it's not something, you know, that's abnormal, and just people should be aware of it. It's something that we agree to when we do these things.
Oh, they have, I mean, and you know, talking about into privacy, they have now where obviously they can turn on your phone, they can turn on your cameras. There's been several cases where school teachers have been prosecuted where they've been turning on their kids', you know, laptops at home and watching them sleep or watching them, you know, unfortunately undress. And, you know, there's already been cases like that. I mean, there was a gentleman who blackmailed, you know what, Miss America, you know, for the same thing. I mean, there's technology, and a lot of people don't realize, but about 3 years ago, Intel came out with a sub-processor. And what it is that you have a primary processor or CPU, but you have this sub-processor that runs, and the computer doesn't even have to be on. It runs off of milliamps. It runs off of a very slight charge, almost off like a watch battery. There's a CMOS battery. And they can turn your computer on, and with that, they can turn on your speakers. They can turn on your camera. I mean, what was it the other day? I was talking about the 14th Amendment, and I went to Google, and I've never, you know, Thomas was educating me on the 14th Amendment. I never Googled ever, so I know it wasn't in my cache. I never Googled 14th Amendment or anything. I went out and typed in 14, and lo and behold, in the rest, you know how it autofills for you? It said amendment right away. And you know, and I know that Google's been working with technology that listens to you. And a lot of people are going, huh? Yes, they have technology. They will turn on the microphones on your computer at your home, and they will listen to your conversation. And then when you get on Google, they'll have advertisement geared towards your conversation. So say you're talking to your wife, and you got to do this. It's interesting. Talk about like dog food or cat food. I need to go get some dog food, or I need to go get some cat food or something. And,
even on a more basic level, even on the more everyday level that everyone has already come to accept.
Yeah.
The shopper saving cards.
Yes.
The S-Mark cards, the BILO cards.
Yes.
The Albertsons cards, the Lucky's cards, the Target cards, where, you know, it's not a credit card, but if you swipe this card with us and you have it, you'll get these savings, you'll get these points, you'll get these, you know, the points are fantastic.
Yeah, well,
I absolutely love them. But people don't realize that's a way for that retailer to target you for specific advertising.
Oh, yeah, they sell that. I mean, look, those. All right, so when you go into XYZ grocery store, and you get, like here, we have Pick and Save, and we have the Pig. We don't have Kroger's, and we don't have some of the, but we have Pick and Save and Piggly Wiggly are the stores.
About them.
Yep. So, believe it or not, though, when they have these loyalty cards, you think it's like Pick and Save loyalty card. Or you think, and that's what they brand it as. But it all goes back to the same company. And what they're doing is that all of these loyalty companies, it's like one or two companies, and these are major marketing firms. And once again, is that they aggregate that data. They don't give you this stuff for free. They're paying you what it would cost if they had to get it from you anyways. So, and of course the store benefits from it because they say, oh yeah, look, we have loyalty points. But it's all about marketing. And then they aggregate it. Now they have a trend on you. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that information, by using those cards, you are giving them the right, number one, to sell that information, but number two, you're giving them the right to disclose that information to third parties. And in some cases, it could be your government. I mean, and the government they have purchased. There are stories, not rumors, but actual stories, where the government has purchased these some of these databases, and that's how they're driving towards Obamacare. They know that you're buying XYZ drugs or whatever, and you're at CVS or you're at Walgreens or wherever you're at. And you're buying this stuff, so they're targeting. And then they go in and they say, well, they part of the healthcare. No, well, guess what? We're going to target them. And
Jeff, I don't agree with you on everything, but when we get into these discussions, I so love where you automatically just go into where my train of thought was leading.
Great minds think alike, my friend.
With cards, I love the points because I'm a miser.
Yeah.
If I don't have to spend a nickel, I'm not going to.
For every nickel you don't spend is a nickel you made.
So I'm just not going to do it. And if someone's going to give me something, of course, as long as I'm still spending money and benefiting the economy and the world keeps going round and round, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But I do have this streak of civil disobedience.
Yeah.
So what I have found as a very effective way to keep all these spammers away and all these targeted advertisements away from me, when I apply for these cards or I put my information in for these cards, I put my real name, but I list my address as 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
There you go. Get a jump
with the 800 number for the White House.
There you go. And you go, and what? You buy a ton of hemorrhoid cream, and you buy, you go down and, that's funny because you're absolutely right. I mean, I take it one step further. Actually, I will find friends who have the pig cards or, whatever, and I swap with them. I'll give them my card and they'll have their card, we'll swap them up. And then it's funny just to, I remember the day, you can't do this anymore, but remember that one of the practical jokes that we used to play on each other in college is, remember you used to get a magazine that has a subscription card? Well, we would get a Playboy or, an adult magazine, and we would fill out someone's address on there and mail that off as a joke. And we'd always do it at their home address, so that way it went home to their mom and dad,
You're supposed to stop doing that?
Yeah. Well, oops. I remember one time we put for sale signs. As a neighborhood, it was funny as a practical joke. My parents were involved in this one. Apparently they took for sale signs and they put it in. I don't know who did it, but someone in the neighborhood did it. My parents knew about it, and it was all a joke. But they put for sale signs up in our neighbors across the street as a practical joke in his front yard. And the problem is where we live in the South is if you would have a garage sale. and you say you list that you're going to have this garage sale at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning, you will have people banging on your door at 7 a.m. You know, why is it set up? Why don't you have it? So the same thing when you're selling a house. People will actually get out of their car. They see a for sale sign. They will literally go walk up, knock on your door. I don't think they do it now, but they used to. They'd knock on the door and ask, "Can I see your house? Can I look at your house?"
What's wrong with that? Well,
it's just funny because, you know, when you get a few hundred people and everything, it's funny. I had a trader, more sophisticated practical joke. A trader buddy of mine they would buy futures, and what it was is that basically you buy the option to you buy a future, so you either sell the future when the contract's up, or you actually take possession of whatever you're buying. So if you're buying hogs, and in Chicago, this is a joke that they would play on literally, where you would buy like a truckload of hogs, and everybody's like, "No, this doesn't happen." No, this happens. It's a long-standing practical joke. It's not, you know, people will buy those contracts as a joke, and then they expire. Well, the next month you'll have a truck, you know, or you get a phone call saying, "Well, where do you want us to drop off your pigs or your hogs that you bought?" And
well, luckily, a bit smarter than that. I mean, you know, I'm not trying to brag, but I graduated high school when I was 15 years old. I've been in the stock market since I was 14.
Yep.
I made a considerable amount of money. I tripled my investment in the stock market, and this was in the 90s.
Yep.
You know, I invested in non-sequential bonds. I invested in the Pacific Rim, in their economy, essentially on its own.
Yep.
And then I got the hell out when the getting was good. I had Intel, I had Microsoft, I had Disney, I had Coca-Cola, I had Harley-Davidson, and I cashed all that in to buy a house.
Yeah.
And that was great, and I loved it. The economy forced me to lose it because I did not pay attention.
Yeah.
And I will not make that mistake again, because had I paid attention, I would have been free and clear. My land would have been mine.
Yeah.
And there would have been no issues.
Yep.
But I will not make that mistake again.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it goes, I mean, I live, you know, right outside of Northbrook is the number one foreclosure area because of all the commodity traders, you know, that use their houses and stuff. And that's why like I said, I've written software, I've consulted with and built black box systems.
I was a mechanic making $40,000 a year turning a wrench with a $162 a month house payment and 5 years away from paying it off.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I thought I was going to do the smart thing and refinance, but I wasn't paying attention to what the market was doing. I wasn't paying attention to what the government was doing. I wasn't paying attention to what my customers were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I refinanced and took my house payment to $400 a month, and within 3 years, everything took a shit, and I lost everything I had.
Yeah. And those are hard lessons. I mean, that's why, you know, I'm a firm believer now in tangibles. I believe in stuff that I own and things that are tangible. And that's why, you know, Sandy and I, we're on a game plan here in June to be completely debt-free from everything from our business that didn't do so well either. And to get back on our feet and then, you know, have some more tangibles and then eventually move to our dream home, our log home in the mountains.
Well, now, you know, it all sounds like a sob story, don't it?
Well,
but
that's
I don't blame nobody.
No, it's life. It's not a sob story. You're living,
I don't blame the government. I don't blame Obama. I don't blame Bush. I didn't like none of them. But I don't blame nobody. I blame myself for not paying attention.
Well, not only that, but you know what, though? Don't blame yourself for anything because it's life. It's life in general. I mean, that's what life's all. You know, for some reason, we feel, and this is part of that brainwashing that goes on in mainstream media, we feel that we're entitled to certain things, that we should have this or we should have that. And, you know, and they've even made it, you know, like car payments. Most people wouldn't be driving the cars they had if they didn't have the lease programs that they have. If you truly had to take out a car loan and pay the loan and stuff, most people couldn't afford it. So what they've done is that they, you know, the geniuses out there, in the financial community have looked at ways of getting you into that lifestyle that they think, and then once you're enslaved to that lifestyle, you got to continue on. Once you get that big house, now you got to have the big car. Now, once you have the car, then you got to get the 2 cars, and then once you get the 2 cars, then you got to have all of the appliances in the house, and then you got to have the big screen TV. This is all by design. They've designed this.
Am I just for not desiring that?
No.
And not instilling that kind of desire in my kids. I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old boy. And the only thing I want to instill in my children is do what you need to do in your life to make yourself comfortable.
Yeah, you're awake. You're awake.
Anything other than that is nothing but gravy, and it's nothing to worry about. If it comes, it comes. If it don't, it don't. Right. But make yourself comfortable.
That's right. Do what you. Yep, absolutely. You're not. Obviously, most people will look at. I mean, think about it now. If you had a child and you did not give them a cell phone, you would be a bad parent. How ludicrous is that? How insane you would be.
My daughter did not have a cell phone until she was 15 years old.
Yeah, but I was
criticized for it.
Yeah,
I was criticized by my peers from parents. I was criticized at one point from the school. I was criticized from grandparents for my 15-year-old not having a cell phone.
Yep, everybody's got one. You got to have one.
My response to them was very simple, very pure, and very basic. Where in the hell do you think my 15-year-old is going to be at any point in time that I am not supposed to know that she is going to be there?
Exactly. Or I'm not there with them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's just it's insane. And it's getting...
Now she's 16, now she's 16, and she's dating. I got to let it go. So now she has one.
Yeah.
Because now I need her to have one.
Yeah. Well...
But all these kids at 6, 8 years old, I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. It is crazy. And you sit around and, I like I said, I grew up, I have all daughters. And they sit around on their cell phones and all of this stuff, and they don't. It's funny now.
Off to you.
Yeah, my middle daughter, to talk to her and stuff. I was sitting at the dinner table. I started texting her at the dinner table because I was like, that's the only way I'm gonna have a conversation. Finally, then of course you just kind of, you lay the law down with them, and of course you're the evil parent, and you're going against and all of these.
We have a rule: no phones at dinner time.
I know. Oh, that's one of the things. To be honest with you, I have a rule. If I could do it, I would get. I've tried actually a week without. I got rid of my other cell phone. Finally blew up, and I didn't do it. And then so a buddy of mine, what happened was the reason why I had to pay is because I said I'm just going to get rid of the cell phone. If people want to talk to me, they can call me on the show. When I do the show or whatever, I don't want to talk. Send me an email or something, and I'll get it off my computer. And I did that for about a week, and a friend of mine, actually, a good friend of mine, gave me a cell phone. Said, here's your cell phone. And I'm like, I don't want it. And he's like, but I gotta be able to reach you. He said, because we might have some contracts, some things, some projects I want you to work on for us, with his company. And he goes, I need to reach you, and I'm not going to send you an email, wait for you to get back to me a day later. So he gave me a cell phone, and that's when I went back to, I said, well, let me get my old number back then. And they were like, no, we're going to charge you. So I got it, I got a new number on the new phone. So it's amazing, though. It's just amazing.
Now, last night you had a caller on that was talking with Stone. When you guys were talking about alternative energy.
Yeah, Joe. Joe Sullivan, yep.
Was it Joe or John? One of the two.
It was Joe. And I hate to do this to you, man, but we're going to come up. You got about 30 seconds before we hit a hard stop here.
Sure. He mentioned converting every car over to LPN, CNG, or water.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention as a mechanic that all that stuff is kind of unfeasible in the U.S. right now.
Yeah. Well, it takes more energy to convert. I know there's a lot of science behind it, but there are alternatives that we could do that would actually be better than what we're doing. But you are right. There's more energy. Gasoline is still the number one energy in versus energy out kind of kind of argument. So,
and economical for the consumer as far as their cost of ownership with vehicles.
Yep, here we go. We got to go, my friend. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Yep.
From Washington, this is VOA News. CAR soldiers accused of a brutal murder of a Muslim Salika rebel fighter. Sectarian and ethnic violence continues to plague central Nigeria. I'm Victor Beatty reporting from Washington. In Central African Republic, soldiers stand accused of taking part in the street killing of a suspected Muslim rebel group leader. Witnesses say soldiers took part in the attack Wednesday on a man suspected of belonging to the Salika rebellion that overthrew President Francois Bozizé last March. The incident occurred in the capital Bangui shortly after interim President Catherine Samba-Panza took part in a ceremony marking the reintroduction of the country's military after a 9-month hiatus during Salika rule. She praised the military for its efforts to regroup and reform after last year's coup.
J'ai demandé à l'ensemble des FACA.
Ms. Samba-Panza asked the military personnel to come out of hiding and re-enlist, otherwise, she warned, they would be considered as deserters. Human Rights Watch Emergencies Director Peter Buchert was attending that ceremony and saw the attack. In a VOA interview, he said African peacekeepers were nearby but did not initially intervene.
They were, I believe, afraid of the massive mob of thousands of uniformed soldiers who were at the scene and the just absolute scene of carnage in front of their eyes.
He said some of those involved in the attack appear to be anti-Balaka members. In Washington, a U.S. spokesperson urged CAR to break the cycle of violence and halt revenge attacks. A wave of sectarian and ethnic violence continues to devastate many communities in central Nigeria. Heather Murdoch has the story in Abuja.
Human Rights Watch says 3,000 people have been killed in sectarian violence since 2010 in Kaduna and Plateau, both Middle Belt states where the mostly Christian South meets the mostly Muslim North. Almost no one has been prosecuted. Ephraim Goji, the president of the Southern Kaduna People's Union, says more than 1,000 of those deaths were in his area, and recent attacks have been particularly brutal. On Friday, a family of 7 was killed when gunmen raided a remote village about 200 kilometers from the state capital city of Kaduna. He says on Monday as many as 30 people were killed in a nearby community, including a soldier and a police officer, and 60 homes were burned to the ground.
Their food items were burnt. Their clothing burnt, their livestock burnt, and I am worried that there's imminent hunger that is coming.
More soldiers and police, he says, will not end the violence. He says he fears if attackers are not arrested and prosecuted, the violence will only get worse as people arm themselves to defend their homes. Heather Murdoch for VOA News, Abuja.
In South Africa, angry residents of townships south and east Pretoria burned down buildings and set fires and rubbish Wednesday, demanding lower electricity prices, better housing, and water supplies. In Rethabisang, residents marched and chanted, expressing discontent over the government's leadership.
Already, it took a lot of damage on the ANC manifesto and the election going forward, because nobody's, in actual fact, there's no problem with the ANC itself. It's the people that are leading it now. The present leadership are corrupt.
A similar protest took place in Sebokeng, south of Johannesburg. South African emergency workers rescued 8 miners trapped near 2 kilometers underground by a fire and rockfall in Harmony Gold's Doornkop mine, but 9 others remain missing. Meanwhile, talks aimed at ending a crippling 2-week-old platinum miners' strike broke down Wednesday with no date set for further talks. Officials of the Anglo-American Platinum, Impala Platinum Holdings, and Lawmen all call union demands for a minimum $1,125 monthly wage unfeasible and have offered a 7% annual pay hike over 3 years. A senior government official in Harare says Zimbabwe needs $27 billion, more than twice the size of the country's economy, to improve basic services and rebuild that country. Finance Ministry official Jonah Mushayi says the funds would be needed for energy, water, sanitation, and social sector improvements. Zimbabwe's gross domestic product in 2013 was $11.6 billion. The World Bank says it plans to launch a $1 billion project to map Africa's natural resources to try to locate undiscovered mineral deposits. An official with the International Finance Corporation says it would help policymakers, investors, and the public by boosting development. The World Bank project set to begin in July. I'm Victor Beatty, VOA News. More can be found at our internet website. That address, once again, voanews.com.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. Join us right here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 9 a.m. Central Time. No, 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Time. I have to back it down a little bit here. We've been, during the break, I tried to switch out a cable to see if it, if we can get it routed another way. Joe, I know it's aggravating you, Joe. It's aggravating me too, my friend. But it is what it is. We'll just have to soldier on. Hopefully, trying everything. I think it's just the board. The board is done. The board is done. But I'll try one more thing. I'm not going to give up that easily. We'll try one more thing to see if we can get it on a different channel. But right before we went off the break, we were talking about, originally started about privacy and everything, and I want to get back to that conversation. Technology. There is, obviously you guys have heard, we all know about the NSA. We all know about, the phone snooping, and we all know about, the technologies, but some of you may or may not know, like I mentioned, might be news to you, that your computers can be turned off and on at will by the government, by hackers, and everything. I've always said the best security for your laptop is a piece of Scotch tape. Put it over the camera. The video conference. Think about it. I mean, I don't know how often. I actually did consulting for a company, and they required everybody to be on video conferencing. Even though we were all over the world, they still wanted to see you. The CIO, he was an Uber geek, and he wanted to see everybody on video conferencing. So, I can understand in some cases where that might be needed or desired. But for the most part, think about it. You really don't need it. I mean, I've had some people here at the show said, well, why don't you put in video cameras? Why? We might do that, like a video conferencing. We were testing it out with a product called GoToMeeting to see if that was something that we can do and actually do that one would actually be a feed for service kind of thing, because that would cost us even more money. But, I just don't think it's there yet. I don't think we have the listenership yet, nor the interest to do a video conference podcast radio show. What that basically means is that you guys stare at my ugly mug for 3 hours. Watch me drink coffee and everything. See what kind of shirt I'm wearing for that day. And yes, I do wear clothes when I do the show. It's not a suit tie, though. I will tell you that. I'm not putting on a suit and tie no more. Those days are over with. But a lot of technology. So, the end of privacy. Let's talk about that a little bit. Now, number one, a lot of these complaints about the government listening in and doing all that. Now, as much as we want to complain about the government, we're culpable in this. Number one, when we were all sitting there cheering the Patriot Act, where some of us were sitting there going, not a good deal. I won't sit here and say, I told you so. That's not what the show's about. But as some of us were sitting there, not a good deal. Trust me, it has nothing to do with catching terrorists in the sand. Most of those terrorists are so unsophisticated. The government makes it sound like they're sophisticated. Dr. Evil flying around in their, Learjet, yeah, doing all sorts of things. No, most of the time these guys. I mean, Pakistan. Here we go. Osama bin Laden. Did you see that rat hole he lived in? Seriously, the rat hole. It's $1 million mansion. Really? That's what $1 million gets you in Pakistan? Because that was a hole. We have young ones listening, so we'll keep it clean. That was a hole. Do you see where he's? His computers were like 386s. Your PDA has more power. It's not like they had, an evil network. See, this is the thing: is this government is so involved in the technology, and I understand, the technology, but technology can be turned off. I'm a firm believer. I know. As we progress even more so, they announced today they have a Death Star, Ray. Literally, a Death Star. They have built a laser that produces more energy than all of the power plants in the world combined. One laser. CERN has developed a Death Star laser. So it's just. You shake your head. Technology, there's a point, and I'm not against technology. I'm against the application of, sometimes. But getting back to it, we're culpable in it. Think about it. We go on Facebook or some other social media site. We give them our cell phone number. They clearly say that they're tying their Facebook account. No one reads do you ever read the license user? I know you don't. Because one of the biggest complaints about Microsoft is if you ever read their licensing agreement, you would know halfway through it turns to French. So how can you agree to a document that you can't read unless you read French? Yeah. How can you agree to it? So most people don't ever read. Think about it. When you install software and it gives you that licensing agreement, you ought to stop and read those. I've read most of them. I don't even care at this point. And like you probably don't care either. But you can't complain about it. Because when you go back and read the document, it will clearly say, yeah, we'll turn on your GPS. Oh, yeah, we might turn on your phone. We might listen in on your conversations. Oh, and by the way, we might take the contacts in your phone, and by you giving access to your phone, you're granting a perpetual license against your friends as well. Not saying that's what they do, but they can, because if they write it in there and you agree to it and you give them access to it, then they got it. And in some states, wiretap laws, only one party has to agree. So they can be listening in on your conversation, actually trying to listen to the other person. See? But you give them a perpetual right to do that. They don't have to ask your permission again. Now, like I said, what you do with your technology is your business, right? But if you're on a train or you're in an area and you start taking pictures of everybody, including myself, I don't want to be in your picture. Typically I can see by the action of your hand going up with a camera, right? Your hand going up with a camera or with your cell phone. I know you're taking a picture, so I can move. I can avoid you. I remember I was at a lecture one time. A group of us would get together every Thursday nights in a little diner in Chicago called the Lincoln, Abe Lincoln. And we would have thoughtful conversations, kind of like what we do here on this show. But it was a group. We'd eat dinner. There were about 20 to 40 people. We'd have lecturers from the university come over. It was awesome. Well, during one of the lectures, there was a guy, and he took a camera, or he took a picture of the crowd. And inside there, one of the guys, and he was a scientist, used to do I'd go to the University of Chicago with him on the weekends and listen to these astrophysicists give lectures. It was cool. It was really neat. And he blew up. He went nuts. Completely went nuts at this guy. Yeah, I want to hear that. And, I was like, whoa, and what it was is this guy grew up in communist Russia. And, he was a socialist. There's no doubt about it. His beliefs, his political beliefs were his political beliefs. We differed in that, but, that's okay. And what it was is this guy took a picture of a kid. Well, where he was at when he was growing up, his family was actually persecuted by the Gestapo, or not Gestapo, the Russian police. And, they had pictures of the family member, had pictures of the kids, and part of the thing was they threatened the parents. They said, look, we know who your kids are. And they showed them pictures of the kids to get them to comply. So where I'm going with this is I understand, and I didn't, at first I was like, whoa, what would you, he's just taking a picture of the kid. But then I understood the guy's background after learning about it and understanding and realizing his apprehension to that. Because those pictures were used against his parents. And he saw that firsthand. He lived that firsthand. And, don't think for a minute that stuff doesn't go on now. Think of all of the blackmail sites. Now, a lot of you guys will sit there and go, well, you shouldn't have taken a sexting picture. 46% of the adult sex do sexting. 46% do sexting. They get access to your, I just said that they have access to your phones. There's these revenge sites that you're hearing about where you're finding out that they're not like disgruntled boyfriends posting pictures. The guy's going to jail right now, prison, because they were hiring hackers to break into people's phones and use that. And then what they were doing is they were blackmailing people with them, saying, look, if you don't pay us, we're going to put these pictures out there. Right to privacy. Even worse so, there's, the cases where they go in now and they, look up someone's criminal record background. Someone can get arrested, and just because you're arrested doesn't mean you're convicted, right? Doesn't mean you're guilty. It means that someone made an accusation against you, and then you have, under the court of law, the right to refute that accusation. And in most cases, people get off. They find that they're not guilty. But yet they still have the mugshots. And, of course, they end up on the job. And the employers now, with the type of market that it is, the economy the way it is, they just Google your name. And if you got one bad mark against you, you ain't going to get a job. They're not even going to give you the opportunity to explain yourself. This ever-increasing invasion of privacy. It's already being corrupted, as I stated earlier in the conversation about businesses and stuff using information that's been gleaned or stolen or taken. It's only a matter of time before the government does the same. It's only a matter of time. The IRS is already using Facebook accounts against people. When you take that tax deduction, or whatever, they're looking at your social media sites. If you want to stop the invasion of your privacy, stop giving your stuff out. It's pretty that simple. Well, and when we get back, we're going to talk about Google Glasses. I think that's a very important topic for us. But you're listening to Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot Radio Show. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
Strange men, don't be a fool. I'm hearing stories I don't
Mr. Rick Springfield, don't talk to strangers. How appropriate is that? I'm telling you, Google's in the studio. That thing gets picked. I don't pick them. It's all automated. It's all appropriate. But like I said before we went on the break, if you don't want your stuff out there, don't be putting it out there. It's amazing. I watch Facebook and I know that Facebook originally was supposed to be for friends and family so you can communicate, but it is so much more that way now. I mean, most of the people that are on Facebook, I can tell you flat out, I have no clue who they are. I'll be honest with you. I have no clue who they are. Almost everybody that I'm friends with here at Patriot FB, though, I know or I've communicated one way or the other with them directly, not through posts. I've reached out to them, had chats with them, had messages with them. Gave them my email. You don't want your stuff out there, don't give it out. But the minute you do, see, the problem is this thing called precedent. It's a legal term. The minute you put your stuff out there publicly, you can no longer pick and choose. You can no longer say, well, I didn't give Facebook. I gave Facebook the right, or I didn't give Twitter. Or I gave Twitter, I didn't give Facebook, or Google+. And we all know that Google Plus is actually huge. NSA come out and, they're thanking Google. Good job, Google. Good job for building a product that's so leaky that we can get into it at will. We don't even have to put our brightest on it. We just hook into it. But, let's talk about this thing, Google Glasses. I'd like to get your opinion on it. 1-800-580-4870, 1-800-580-4870. What I'm talking about is, like I said earlier, when an individual wants to take a picture in a crowd, typically you see the phone go up, you see, it's the phone, no longer cameras. You see that. So you can move, you ever do that, the dodge? Oh, you look like you're having a spasm. Someone that doesn't see the guy with the camera is like, whoa, what happened there? The dodge. I actually did something really mean to someone. I was in Chicago. And this family, wasn't a family, it was this guy and his girl and some of his buddies, I guess they were Chicago Cub fans. They were taking pictures, and I asked them. I said, can you not, please? And the guy was like, oh, we're just having a good time. I was like, oh, okay. So, he's taking pictures and everything. And he was like, oh, I'm just having, a good time. And so I said, oh, okay. Why don't you guys all come together? Get together. I'll take a picture of you guys. So I'm sitting there. And the whole time that I'm supposedly like learning fidgeting with his phone, I'm deleting the pictures that he took with me in them. And then, I took their picture. I said what I was going to do. I took their picture, but I deleted the ones that he took of me. So I'm just, not really of me. I was just in them. Took a, And I understand people's exuberance. It's kind of cool to ride a train. Some people have never done that before. It's interesting to do that. But you got to be careful. But now, getting back to topic here, Google Glasses. Now, obviously, if you don't know, Google's developed this product called Google Glass. And you can actually buy prescription glasses with it already embedded. Or you can buy, these glasses that go over your glasses, or if you don't wear glasses, they're just there. And what they do is that it's basically a heads-up display that you look into, or you can look through. Now, and everybody, that's pretty cool. But the problem with this is the fact that companies have built facial recognition software. And companies have built various, obviously they can record you without you even knowing about it. And they can stream that live to the web. Live. So we're opening up a whole nother sense of voyeurism. Think about it. Think about all the perverts out there. Think about it. Typically when Sandy and I are walking and a guy walks up and stares down Sandy's chest, I see it and I can knock the dude out. Well, they normally wouldn't do that in front of me because, I'm a freaking monster to begin with. But Sandy's had issues where people have taken pictures. She's caught them in stores. They have their cell phones on and they hold them, cupping them down or whatever by their hands. And, there's some sick people out there. There really are. So now we have these Google glasses where these voyeurs can now do this and without your permission, post your likeness up there. And the argument that they make is, well, you're out in public. Well, you have a right to go out in public. But their argument is because you're out in public, you have no right to the privacy. Now, the reason why that has changed is because law enforcement actually changed that rule. There was a sense, you did have a sense of privacy even in public spaces. But because the law enforcement, because of their dash cams and everything like that, they argued effectively, and now you don't have a right to privacy. And that, that applies for everybody. So now with these Google glasses or like devices, you could be walking down the street, you can be sitting at a restaurant, you can be wherever, and the next day you can be all over YouTube. Think about embarrassing moments. Just think about it. You're out in a restaurant, you sneeze, or say you fall asleep on a train or something, that out of context is pretty funny, but also is embarrassing to you. Think about that. That can be posted on the internet. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, it's harmless. No, it's not harmless. Because now your employers get it. What happens, we all know. You ever been in a heated argument at work? Ever get upset with someone? Ever have it out with your boss? Can you imagine if that conversation was ever recorded? You ever say something that later that you're not proud of but out of anger you said it? But after the fact you're like, oh my gosh, and of course the retraction is never printed or never posted. Can you imagine that being out on the internet? So then when you go look for a next job or your new job or whatever, that's out there. This is a huge problem, America. This is a huge problem. And it's getting even worse. And in some states, you're private even when you're not in public, because like I said, as long as one person concedes to it, the conversation can be completely recorded even in private. Think of all the sick, you can go out to these revenge sites. It's only a matter of time. It's already happening through cell phones and stuff. Can you imagine with these Google glasses? And like I said, when someone brought a cell phone up to take their picture, you know that it was coming up. You could see it. Right? Now, they can be looking at you, and you would never know it. And of course, they have the right to edit. You don't. So that's the problem with a lot of this technology. They can bait you, knowing that, I'm a libertarian and I have certain beliefs. They can bait me into a conversation, cut out the parts that they don't want, that gives the true explanation, and only use the parts that they do as a public figure. They can do that now with these glasses. So, technology, it's a great thing. But there's always a jerk-off out there who wants to use it inappropriately. I mean, computers. Think of the world if we didn't have computers. It would be, some would say it was great, and I would have to agree with you in some cases. Some would disagree with that. And I would have to agree with you as well. But think about it. But now think of all the idiots now who have computers and whose sole purpose. I mean, look at what the battles that we have at Patriot FB all the time. The money and the resources that are spent trying to protect our freedoms, our right to free speech. Technology. Is it the end of privacy? I think in certain regards it is. How do we take it back? Well, first, we stop giving away our privacy. We say no more. Stop giving your information out to Facebook. But you're listening to Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. Join me live here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. When we get back, we're going to be talking about some more surveillance.
To thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
The impeccable ZZ Top, have mercy. Here's a little tidbit. You know that a lot of your men's grooming companies are actually posting lower than expected earnings, and they're claiming it on the Duck Dynasty guys. It's everybody's fault. No, it's not their fault. They've grown beard. Trust me, the beards they got, they made that decision years ago. It's everybody else that wants to be like them. I should tell you something too. There are so many people who have a belief system, but yet they're afraid to come out and say it. They're afraid to show it. So their expression of their belief system is they grow their hair out, grow a beard. You don't have to grow a beard to. I had a goatee. I cut it. I had a billy goat, and it got to the point where my youngest daughter said I looked like a homeless person. So I shaved it off, but it's pretty good length. So I'd like to say I'm clean shaven, but no, I like it a little scraggly. I remember, there was a time where I wore suits and ties and had to dress up business. I mean, our relaxed dress code was business casual. And for those that don't know, that means you still wear a button-down shirt, T-shirt, slacks, shoes. Most of the time our normal dress attire was suit and tie. So when I was let go, not from that job, but when I was let go from that profession, moved on, I said no more. So now I typically wear my Bermuda shorts and a t-shirt. Usually black t-shirt, just to let you guys know. You know, it's so much easier. I sit and watch, and people criticize, but I sit and I watch like Sandy, you know, with the closet full of clothes and the time that she takes to figure out what she's going to wear for that day. You know, I know what I'm going to wear. I can already tell you what I'm going to wear tomorrow. Black shirt, maybe red. I might wear my Miller Lite red shirt and my Bermuda shorts. You know, that's what I'm going to wear. Life is so simple that way. You know, I will have to tell you that I have to get out and get a haircut, get it high and tight again. That's driving me nuts. It's getting in my eyes. But, you know, let's get back to the topic. Let's not talk about my grooming preferences here. But let's get back on topic. You know, we talked about, you know, death of privacy. We have to take it back. We have to make it a conscious effort. Now, I will tell you this. When you sign up for PatriotFB.com, go out there. Get out to PatriotFB.com. If you want to use an alias, Gmail account or Yahoo, I don't care. I don't care. We're not looking at that. We're looking at other indicators. There's certain algorithms. You know, if you don't want to share your personal email address, that's fine. If you want to share it with us, that's fine. But it's not a requirement. I don't care what your phone number is. I am actually in the process. Now, there's a legal requirement where we have to get age. But I'm in the process of getting that off the site as far as how old people are. You can actually block that if you wanted to. You go into your privacy settings and block it. But a lot of people haven't done that. And to be honest with you, I don't care how old you are, as long as you are over the age of 18. There is a legal requirement that we have to gather that, you know, for minors. So, but we're going to make some changes. Now, we gather your city and state. You know, we do ask that you be truthful. Let us know where you're coming from. That also helps us weed out the liars, the guys that are coming in here. I mean, who cares if you live in Washington or, you know, wherever? Don't hide it from us, because there's other ways for us to find out. You know, there's other ways. We don't believe in censorship, but we're not going to put up with the trolls, and we're not going to put up with the idiots, the guys that want to come in and spam. We're not going to do that. We have a responsibility to keep our site safe and secure. But, you know, as far as your privacy goes, that's up to you. You know, but stop giving it out. It's amazing. I get bugged now with Facebook. You know, they want to know my high school. They want to know where I lived. They ask me, have you lived in the... And I never have given them that information. And they ask me, have you lived here? Have you lived here? Have you lived there? So that tells me that they're cross-referencing other databases. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's scary, actually. But, you know, stop giving it out. You know, Senator Franken is saying, you know, he's got concerns. He's got some concerns about our privacy. They don't have any concerns. They're, you know, if they truly had concerns about you and I, they would be standing on the steps of Congress. They would stop every conversation they had other than the rights to protect our privacy. I know if I was a politician and this was an issue, and it is an issue for me, I wouldn't have any other conversations until this issue was addressed. So you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host. Thank you for joining us. When we get back, we're going to talk a little. We got some more things. We're going to talk about government agencies being hacked.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com a social network for patriots. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
At this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends. I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and visit stjude.org today.
To the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. Join me right here every Monday through Friday. Tell your friends, your family about us. If you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Love to hear from you. I enjoy it. The show goes so much better when we have people calling in. So if you're sitting around on the fence, give us a call. Call us. One call, that's all. We might change your life. You might change mine. I don't know. It's mutual. But going back to the end of privacy. You know, one of the things, too, you know, there's a huge push right now to have trackers put in your cars. You know, of course, you know, law enforcement and the insurance companies are going to say, well, it helps us insurance. Because when you're in an accident, of course I wasn't speeding. It's amazing. But common sense will tell you otherwise, right? I mean, I was in a head-on accident. A lady came across the median and hit me head-on. Because she missed her turn. And she wanted to, wanted to still argue in court. Now I understand that there was a lot of insurance, but her attorney, they want to argue that she wasn't at fault. But of course, the insurance company's going to say, well, we need to put these trackers because we would have known. We would have known the direction, the speed, everything about it. Well, any common sense will tell you the direction and speed. I don't think there is, that I know of a case in which it wasn't clear or the truth didn't come out. But they want to put these in. It's only a matter of time that they use those as revenue generators. They can write you a ticket without even having to deploy the police. Think about it. They already do it in some states on toll roads. They meter you from one toll to the other, and you get a ticket because you're going too fast. Too fast. So it's only a matter of time. And now they're talking about they have devices. They have drones that can fly over a city or a state, and within an hour know where every vehicle is. Now, I know of that technology. Now, I didn't work on anything like that, but part of my job when I was mentoring graduate students at a university in Chicago, these were all computer sciences, in a Java high performance lab, was writing software. A lot of the grants was, the big thing, and this was 10 years ago. So you can only imagine with horsepower computers and where we're at now. But writing software that could take a satellite image, and be able to say, well, that's a tank. Those are troops. Those are, that's a Jeep. That's an airplane. And do it all electronically. 10 years ago. So you can only imagine where we're at now. Only imagine. And so now they can fly drones over. They're reporting they fly drones over your community right now and map every car. They have technology. They can watch you walk from a satellite and tell that it's you. Because everybody has a certain gait or pattern in which they walk. Well, why is that scary? Well, it's scary in many respects, because they also have these drones that can fire missiles at you. And the government, I know everybody's sitting there going, oh, Jeff, you're getting tinfoil hat. No, but look, our government has already assassinated American citizens in foreign countries, but they've assassinated American citizens on our soil here in the United States as well. Don't kid yourself. They haven't used drones, but they've used drones to kill American citizens. It's only a matter of time. When the government deems you as a threat to itself, who's to say they don't light you up? Who's to say? But now they can track you. So now they can track, your vehicle. I don't know about you, but in some municipalities, if you have a car in your driveway and it doesn't have, and you didn't update your registration, say you're not driving it. Say your son or daughter's away at college and is not driven, so you didn't update the registration or you didn't pay the tax, the wheel tax. It's sitting there waiting for them to come back from college. Save yourself an extra money because you don't have $300 or $200 to get your tags. Well, now they can come in your driveway and they give you a ticket. Even though the car is not moving. Oh, and by the way, if the car doesn't move, they can, in some municipalities, they can come and tow it. Deem it a junk car. Now, I understand they pass these laws, these nuisance laws to keep people from, turning their houses into junkyards. I understand it, and that's the way they sell it to us. And most people in the community go, oh, I agree, because everybody knows you got a neighbor that, throws stuff out or does whatever. But you hear about citizens who that's not what they're doing. They might be, like I said, storing it for a daughter or a son or even a veteran. It's off, and they didn't go out and buy the tags for it because they don't need to. It's not being driven. Well, the government can come and give you a ticket. So it's only a matter of time that they use these drones to fly over and, oh, so-and-so's got a car in his driveway. Well, he's only got one car registered. Why does he have two? Oh, then they fly over again the next week. Oh, the car hasn't moved in a week. They have software that does that. They have software that if you put a garden in your backyard, oh, there's a garden there, got to have a permit. Or, oh, they added on. They added on to their house. Didn't have a building permit. See that? You ask yourself, well, these things are all, good and fine. But no, they're not. Because the problem is it might not affect you, but eventually it will. It will. That drone that goes over and scans your neighbor's car in his driveway is the same drone that's going to come over and see that you put a pool in your backyard. You're spending it with your kids. Oh, you got to have a permit for that. Or you got a dog in your backyard. Oh, you got to have a permit for that. Got to have you got to pay a dog tax. Oh, there's some bicycles. Oh, got to have bicycles registered. Oh, you're having a garage sale. Oh, my goodness. I don't know about you, but in my town, when you have more than 2 garage sales, the third one, you got to get a permit. And, oh, by the way, the revenue guy shows up. See, all this stuff is shared with these databases. They have it, they have, oh, you had a garage sale, so when you do your income tax, and I know a lot of you guys will go, Jeff, you're getting way out there. It's only a matter of time. Think about it. It's in a database. See, when physical human beings had to go do it, it was near impossible. They couldn't do it. But when you have a yard sale, you're supposed to pay sales tax? You're supposed to claim that at the least as income tax? Did you know that? Well, now they can fly over, see that you had a garage, and they'll share that. Oh, yeah, I had a garage sale. How much money do you make? We want our taxes. Oh, and by the way, because you didn't give over your taxes voluntarily, we're now going to charge you even more. Penalty. See where that's all going? We're going to take a break. When we get back from the break, got more about this. We're going to talk about security breaches at U.S. military and government installations. It's crazy. Got some more information on the IRS.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? You've been out riding fences for so long now. Oh, you're a hard one, but I know that you got your reasons. These things that are pleasing you can hurt you somehow. Don't you draw the queen of diamonds, boy. She'll beat you if she's able. You know the queen of hearts is always your best bet. Now it seems to me some fine things have been laid upon your table, but you only want the ones that you can't get.
You only want the ones that you can't get. Wow. Have you ever listened to a lot of the music? I do it more now than I ever did. I sit and listen to the words of the music. And, one thing that was really scary, there was at patriotfb.com, there was a gentleman who posted a thing, a record producer, a very well-known record producer, talks about music and how it is. It's part of witchcraft. Now, I don't believe all artists are that. I do believe some do. You only have to look at Katy Perry and Stevie Nicks and those guys to understand that there's some occult going on there. Hotel California, they're talking about the occult. But I watched this video and listen to this record producer talk about that. And it was an eye opener, and it's made me think about some things. You ever listen to some of the lyrics of songs, and their meanings and the way that they intertwine with each other. And the fact that they tie it to music is incredible. Desperado. Sometimes the things you can't get. And that's what it's about. There's a lot of things that we want, but there's many things we'll never get. And I guess that's where the serenity prayer comes into play. I haven't said it in a while. Maybe you say it again. But, this fight for freedom that we fight is attainable. It's not law. We're not lost. This battle's not over with. We can still win. We will win. Because I still believe fundamentally deep down, even though most of America is still asleep, that when they awake and they realize, and a lot of Americans are waking up, they'll realize. And I think our government knows that too, because they're scared. That's why they want to take away our guns. That's why they want to limit our abilities to assemble, our abilities. Think about it. If I told you 200 years ago that you were going to go to jail if you protested peacefully, mind you, if you protested because the president was there, George Washington was there, and because he was there, and if he said something and you protested, and even though you stood across the street in your little protest zones and you protested, you would go to jail. If our forefathers saw that, they would be utterly dismayed. But that's what it is. A lot of Americans don't realize this because they're still asleep. They're still watching American Idol or one of those shows, right? They don't realize that in this country, right now, it is illegal to protest anywhere where there's a Secret Service member present. Now, that includes being around the president, and unfortunately with the Secret Service, that means you strip clubs in foreign countries and prostitution brothels as well. You can't protest. Not saying that you will, but just saying. Anywhere where the way the law is written, they didn't say, well, you can't protest around the President of the United States. You can't protest around... No, what they said is you can't protest wherever there's a Secret Service. Now, the way they flew this was, well, because, if there's Secret Service there, it distracts the Secret Service. They can't do their job in protecting the president. That's their argument. No. You think the politicians, that's not their concern. Their concern is that they don't want you, they want free speech zones. They don't want free speech zones. They want to take it away from you. So I see that we have a caller waiting for us on the line. To be fair to you, caller, if you want, give us a call back. We're going to be taking a break here in about a minute, about 30 seconds. So you can give us a call back after the break. Love to talk to you. Or you can just stay on and listen to the music. Listen to the break. That's fine as well. But we'll take our break. Get back. We're going to be talking about IRS. We got some emails. IRS consorted effort. Remember that? There's no criminality. Well, of course not. One of the lead donors was the investigator. We'll talk about that. Talk about the $3 trillion that's been sucked out of the economy.
You are listening to PatriotFB.com.
From Washington, this is VOA News. International Criminal Court case against Kenya's president called into question. A fresh appeal for security in CAR. I'm Victor Beatty reporting from Washington. The defense in the International Criminal Court trial of Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta says the prosecution has realized its case has collapsed. Defense attorney Stephen Kay telling the court Wednesday a prosecution attempt to blame the Kenyan government for obstruction indicates prosecutors have no real case. At issue are financial records that prosecutors say could tie Mr. Kenyatta to 2008 post-election violence that left hundreds dead. During Wednesday's court session, prosecution lawyer Benjamin Gumpert accused the defense of foot-dragging on turning over the records.
One of the allegations we make against Mr. Kenyatta is that he personally provided very large quantities of money which were funneled down through his intermediaries and messengers and delivered in the form of cash to the perpetrators of the violence. The request for assistance which we made was for Mr. Kenyatta's financial records, because, we suggest, if he did indeed make such financial contributions, there would likely to be records of movement of funds at the relevant time.
But defense lawyer Kay argued the Kenyan government had been right to withhold the records.
The government of Kenya has maintained consistently that requests from the prosecution should come through the court, and by that they mean the trial chamber.
Prosecutors in Mr. Kenyatta's trial acknowledge they lack sufficient evidence to go ahead with the trial. They say witnesses have been bribed and intimidated, and at least 2 have dropped out. They also accuse the government in Nairobi of blocking access to what they say are key phone records needed to build their case. Mr. Kenyatta and his deputy, William Ruto, face charges of crimes against humanity for their alleged roles in orchestrating the violence. Muslim youths again clashed with police in the Kenyan port city Mombasa, with at least 1 person killed Wednesday. It was the 3rd day of violence following a police raid on a mosque suspected of being part of a recruitment network for Islamist militant groups. In Somalia, mortar fire from suspected militants was reported in Mogadishu over 2 nights this week, wounding at least a dozen people. Prime Minister Abdiweli Sheikh Ahmed urged a meeting of government and security officials to halt the attacks. The capital has enjoyed relative peace since August 2011, when African Union troops pushed Islamic extremists out of the city. Soldiers in Central African Republic have been accused of taking part in street killing of a suspected Muslim rebel group member. Witnesses say the soldiers beat and stabbed the man before dragging his body through the streets. The incident occurred in the capital Bangui shortly after interim President Catherine Samba-Panza praised the military for its efforts to regroup and reform following last year's coup.
Au bout d'1 mois, j'aimerais une sécurisation, sinon complète.
Ms. Samba-Panza says within a month she wants the country to be secure. At a certain point, she adds, everyone will be responsible for their actions. A message, she says, is aimed at what she called troublemakers who continue to sow disorder. In a related development, Human Rights Watch says Salika fighters have been engaging in a new wave of horrific attacks in cases with help from Chadian soldiers, part of an African peacekeeping force. It says Chadian peacekeepers help facilitate the movement of ex-Salika fighters. Human Rights Watch official Peter Bulkert says Chadian soldiers shot and killed civilians on Tuesday.
Chadian peacekeepers who were in a town about 80 kilometers north of Bangui called Boali, where 700 Muslims are sheltering in the Catholic Church, opened fire on the civilian population, killing 2. So that is why we're calling for the suspension of the Chadian peacekeepers. They are not here to keep peace. They're here to assist the Seleka in committing atrocities, and they should be suspended from this very important mission, and their conduct should be investigated.
The UN Human Rights Office expressed concern Chadian peacekeepers appear to have supported the Salika fighters, a charge Chad denies. The murder trial of ousted Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi was adjourned Wednesday until next month. A defense lawyer said the judge wants the testimony of witnesses to be determined before proceeding. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization issued an urgent appeal for $77 million for South Sudan. The FAO says nearly 4 million people face acute or emergency levels of food insecurity brought on by ethnic fighting since December. I'm Victor Beattie, VOA News. More on the internet at VOA News.
I can't believe the computer just... You're listening to Jeff Norton of the Midnight Patriot radio show. That was the boss, my hometown. It didn't like him. So, actually, I wanted to stop this break because I know we have a caller who's been waiting on the line very patiently for the last 6 minutes. So, we'll go ahead and get them on the air. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Jeff. This is Joe in Kansas.
Hey, Joe in Kansas. How are you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing all right. I was just wanting to call and touch base with a story we talked about last week about one of China's banks not being able to make their payments.
Yes.
Yeah, did you see what's happening to the Japanese stock market?
It is
yesterday.
Yep, I know it's going.
Oh, here, let me read.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. It's all you.
Okay, let me read you this little story. It says, on Tuesday, the Nikkei fell by more than 610 points. If that sounds like a lot, that is because it is. The largest one-day stock market decline in the U.S. history is only 777 points. So far, the Dow is only down about 1,000 points during this correction, they're calling it.
Yep.
But the Nikkei is down more than 2,300 points. The Nikkei has dropped more than 14% since the peak of the market, and many analysts believe this is only just the beginning.
Yep.
Basically, what it's saying is the stuff is about to hit the fan over there.
Yeah.
And, of course, they're blaming it on the United States, and because of the way we print our money, we're making our money worthless, which makes all their stuff worthless somehow or another.
Well, I mean, and let me kind of explain that to you. Number one is what happens is that when, think of money like diamonds, right? What makes diamonds valuable, or what gives them their value, is the fact that there's scarcity of them. Now, if you can go to your beach and the sand was now diamonds, what's the diamond worth? Nothing. And so what happens is that when we continually to print our money, we devalue we take away the value of that dollar. The more money that's out in circulation, the less valuable it is. And because the world economies are based upon the U.S. dollar, we are weakening the world economy. And a loaf of bread, the reason why the cost of bread has gone up, besides fuel, you got transportation costs and infrastructure costs, fixed, part of your fixed cost formula. But the reason why the cost of bread has gone up, a part and parcel of it, the majority of the reason is because the value of the dollar is weaker, so you want more, that bread has to cost more because the dollar is worth it. What you used to be able to get for $1, you could only get half. If you go in and you say, I have $1 and I want to buy the loaf, and they go, well, you can only get a half a loaf. And then you go, well, I don't want a half a loaf, I want a full loaf. And they go, well, then you got to add another 50 cents to it. And you go, okay, so that's why it costs. And that's going on across the world. And Japan has every right to blame us for printing but this is all laid out in the open a long time ago.
Well, I don't know if most people realize it, but we're dumping $86 billion a month into the money supply system for quantitative easing.
Yes, and
and you just can't do that.
Well,
and there's going to come a point in time where we're going to have to stop doing that.
Well,
and when we do, everything's going to take go downhill really fast.
Yeah, well, let me kind of explain to you the scary part with all this money dumping that's going on. You're absolutely right. You can't pump that money in because you create a hyperinflation scenario. Because, like I said, when when things have less value, when the dollar has less value, you get less for your dollar, and if you want the same amount going into it, then you have to pay more. So you have that inflationary cost that goes into it. But the other part that's really scary, and a lot of Americans don't know this, when our government pumps money into the market or through quantitative easing, it's not going to you and I. It's not going to our local banks. It's not going to build up infrastructure. It's not going to put Americans back to work. That's not where it's going. What it's going is it's going into the private banking system, and there's even shadow banks that have been created since just out of this that take this money and they pump it into the stock market. And that's why the stock market is up where it's at, is because all of this money that goes in doesn't flow down to you and I at the local level. What it does is it goes to the Hollywood types. That's why these bankers are killing themselves. That's why they're jumping out of the buildings, because the game they're caught. And if the economy, and they know it, because when the economy is doing well. That's why a guy like, Madoff and all of them can get away with their Ponzi schemes, because they have an influx of money that's always filling the coffers, and they're able to adjust here and there. The problem is now is that the economy's pulling back, and like the Wizard of Oz, that curtain's going to be, and these guys are going to get hammered, and they know they're going to get hammered. And we talked about this the other day. I had the CNBC experts, and the reason why I had them on there, and I talked about technical analysts and technicals. Everybody knows the market does corrections. We all know that. If you're in the market, if you watch the market's always going to correct. And they were anticipating a 10% correction. They were legitimately, anticipating a 10% correction. The problem is that what's going on now, it's not following the other lines, because there's other equities and indices that also get moved either up or down. Those aren't happening. You are literally seeing. See, when I'm a sophisticated investor, I always want my money in the market. I always want my money somewhere. If it's going long or going short or whatever, I want my money, because my money's sitting in my bank account, I'm losing money. So if I'm not buying this equity, I'm buying that equity. If I'm not buying this, I'm buying gold, I'm buying silver, I'm buying this, or doing whatever it is.
Right.
Well, we're not seeing that with this correction. We're not seeing. All we're seeing is a complete pullback from the market, and that's scary, because what that means, people are taking their money out, and they're not. It's not going. They're not people, but and who suffers from that? The guys that have the pension funds that are tied to the market, the 401k guys, the people that are, that they're, that's who's going to suffer from this. And that's why I'm telling everybody, if you have your money in the market right now or in a bank, you are a fool. You are a fool. You need to take your money out and buy hard, tangible products. That's what the rich are doing. That's why the money's coming out of the market, because instead of investing in the stock market, they're taking out and they're buying land. You go to Florida, 10 years ago, there was condo buildings that were empty. Now in Florida, they're full. And they're full of the uber, the rich, the foreigners and stuff, because that's what they're doing, is they're buying up, they're taking liquid assets, the dollar, which is, very, and they're using that, they're buying hard currency, or they're buying, not currency, but they're buying hard assets, they're buying land, they're buying property, they're buying, things that have tangible product.
Things that have value.
Well, things
that have really true life value, I guess.
Because you're going to wake up tomorrow and your dollar isn't going to be worth. It's already worth pennies on the dollar now.
Well, did you see where I think I read two different bankers have pulled all their money out of the Bank of America this week, and the others have committed suicide with these heads of banks.
Yeah, they're jumping out.
They're jumping out the windows.
Yeah. Because they know what's coming. They're caught.
Yeah,
They're caught, and they know that they're going to get prosecuted, and they know that the scam's up. These guys have been, their wealth has not been generated wealth; it's been given wealth by the Fed, and these guys have taken that money and they've squandered it away. And I'm sure the investigation's going to come back that, we're going to see. Yeah, I mean, it's look, you got to do what I've always said. You got to do what the wealthy's kind of doing, kind of watch what they're doing, and they are. They're buying hard assets. A lot of Americans don't know this, but the Bushes, they own an island. They bought an island that they can go to. A lot of your wealthy have foreign, property in foreign countries, real estate, and that should tell you something. And these aren't vacation properties. These are homes. These are. I don't know how many I got last year. You heard about all the Supreme Court justices that their homes were burglarized and stuff. That didn't happen in the United States. It happened in foreign countries, and because that's where they're going. That's where they're all. They're all as they sit here and kind of tell you to stay in the oven and take the fire. They're cooking lobsters, and we're the lobsters, and they're slowly turning the heat up on us. And
boy, ain't that the truth?
Yeah, I mean that's how they're doing it.
And did you see the day where that one judge they come out and said, internment camps are going to be coming back again.
Well, Joseph. Yep. Scalia.
I posted about that on that.
Yep. Judge Scalia, flat out said that the day of internment camps, he can see that happening, and he's, Judge Scalia is not. If you look at his background and you look at his belief systems and everything, they're pretty in line with libertarian beliefs, and so he is when he takes when he says something, I listen to what he's saying, but I believe that this government, look. This government has no, and people go, well, this government would never. Look at all the people that are in prisons for stupid crimes. Look at the lady who got arrested because she was feeding bears. She was feeding bears, and she's gone, and they didn't set a bail because she's a menace. They called her a menace for feeding bears. Come on.
Look at the people getting arrested for feeding homeless people.
Yeah.
It's against the law to be broke in this country.
Yeah, we're at debtor's prison, but and we do have debtor's prison in this thing in this country, because what happens is that you might be a prison. Prison not only includes the classic sense of a prison, but if you're broke and you're poor and you're living from paycheck to paycheck, it's hard for you to contribute to society. It's hard for you because you're so focused on everything else. Now, there's self-induced prisons like that where people go out and they get themselves turned upside down. I'll be the first one to tell you, I've done it, and I put myself in bad situations because I, went out and did this or did that, and I wasn't responsible. But there's prisons, legitimate, debtors kind of prison where you get so far upside down because you lose your job because of Obamacare or whatever, or the job market sucks and you can't pay your bills, and now you're a slave to unemployment insurance, and then when that goes away, you're now a slave to you can't pay any of your bills. And the problem is you're in prison. I don't care what they say. You might be living in your home. Well, you're not going to be living in your home much longer, but you might be living somewhere, but you're still in prison because you have that burden of life on you, and you can't. Right. And that's a form of prison. And I think that in some cases, believe it or not, I think in some cases it would be better off if you were in jail, because at least you get 3 meals a day, and you'd have somewhere. I wouldn't say safe.
But every time you go to jail, look what that does to your record, and you can't get a job today without getting a background check.
I know. It's crazy.
And it's like you were saying earlier on the show, one bad thing, one bad mark on your record, and you're done. They just move on to the next person.
Oh yeah, because the job market's such. I have in my small town here in Wisconsin. There's a McDonald's who they were hiring cashiers. You had to have a 4-year degree to be a cashier at McDonald's. That's how bad the job market is here. That they can request, if you want this $10 an hour job, at McDonald's, you had to have a college 4-year degree. Because they could do that. Because there were so many people that were without jobs. I've got friends, including myself, who, we're not working at our full capacity. It's crazy. That's how I have the time to do what I'm doing, because my industry what I used to do and stuff is gone. It's gone. So now I'm, I consult.
Did you see today where they're saying 2 things happened to Obamacare today? One, the Office of Accountability come out and said that it's going to be basically financially impossible to do Obamacare.
Yep.
And 2, Obamacare is going to cost 230 million people their jobs.
Yep.
And so,
and of course,
it's
that came out.
Go ahead.
We were going to talk about that yesterday, and I never got to it. But yeah, the GAO came out and basically said, well, And of course, Obamacare, well, this is deficit neutral. This is, you heard that, and they were talking about live by the GAO, die by the GAO, because the GAO, like you said, came out and said, well, wait a minute, this is going to cost, you can't do it, number one, and then economically, it's going to have to be subsidized by government, and then number two, people are losing, and I know for a fact, people are losing their jobs, and people aren't getting hired back for jobs, aren't getting hired back unless they have unless they have insurance. That's a requirement now. When people are when other companies are hiring them, I've had friends that have said they've asked them, what kind of insurance do you have? Are you signed up for Obamacare? And unless you're signed up for it, they're not going to hire you back because they don't think about it. The number one expense for any business is its employees, and the number one expense there, other than labor costs, is insurance and covering insurance for them. So naturally, I'm a businessman. If I can get rid of my HR department, I mean, because think about what.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize that it costs employers money. Like here in Kansas, it costs. They take out for your Social Security and your taxes. They take out 7.3%.
Yes.
Well, then the employer matches that 17.3%, and for 14, it's just under 15%.
Yeah.
That they pay to the government. Well, that comes straight out of the employer's pocket. Even though it's a tax-deductible thing at the end of the year, they still have to pay that.
Look, I mean, I'm doing it right now. So you're right. You have matching contributions that you have to pay. Then you got unemployment insurance that you got to cover. Then you got workman's comp insurance that you have to cover on the employees. Then you typically have some kind of health care benefit, or if you work for a company like that. I mean, we didn't provide health care. We just said, look, you go do it on your own. But you still have all those tangibles. Then you have all of the other expenses that you have to pay, as long for an employee, and luckily, like I said, when I had employees or people that worked, they were all, independent contractors. They weren't actual employees.
Yeah,
so they
you 1099 them.
Yeah, because they had other interests and did other things. I mean, that's what I've done all my life, was basically, there was a time, now that I'm getting older and I need something a little bit more stable, there was a time where I never had a W-2. It wasn't until just recently, after I left Pangea and everything, that I had W-2s. But I'm back doing consult, and it's hard. It's hard, to find.
Yeah, especially for self-employed people. They don't understand that their taxes are double at the end of the year, as versus going to work for somebody else. Exactly. And that just takes the wind out of your sail right there, in order to, so a lot of people starting small businesses, such as yourself, with what you're doing with PatriotFB.com and what have you. Sooner or later, the piper's got to be paid.
Yep.
I'm sitting here looking at a thing now that says our total consumer and business and government debt is now the equivalent of approximately 345% of our GDP.
Yeah, when you add up.
How in the world? How are we ever going to repay that? There's no possible way. We're going to have to file bankruptcy.
Well,
there ain't no other way around it.
We're going to have a banking holiday. Everybody's going to have to pay, and you go to your ATM machine and you draw out your U.S. greenbacks. And I think this banking holiday you won't get $1 back. What you're going to do is they're going to give you a debit card, and then they're just going to take and they're even talking now. I mean, they're even talking now a possibility that your paycheck, when you get paid, your paycheck, this is how insane this is getting. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. But there are members of Congress who now say that your paycheck should go to the government first. The government takes its part, and then the government will then deposit the rest of the money into your account. You will no longer have cash. You will no longer, any payments that are made have to be electronic in nature. So like if you wanted to buy something from me on eBay, right? And that money would have to go, and before it could go into my bank account, has to go through the government. The government takes its take, and then the government puts it into my account. And that's, I'm telling you, that's what the banking holiday is going to look like. They're going to close the banks, and they're going to redo that, but then they're going to come back and say all transactions now have to happen on a debit card. And if you don't have your banking debit card, then you got to go to the government, and then we'll give you one. But like you said, your paycheck has to be deposited into this account that the government now controls, and then and look, I don't want the government anywhere near my money, and the reason being is, right. I mean, look at this out in Oregon, where these families who signed up for Obamacare had their bank accounts drained by Obamacare because they took out 3 or 4 payments in a row, bam, 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 bam. And then they were like, well, that's not our fault. It's like, what do you mean it's not your fault? You're the one that did it, and that's the way it works. I mean, look at Wells Fargo, who took out mortgage payments just 2 weeks ago. They had a glitch in their system. They took out mortgage payments on these people. Wells Fargo didn't cover all the overdraft fees for these people on other stuff. They were like, well, you just won't owe us a mortgage payment next month. And I don't know about you, but they said 90% of the American people live from paycheck to paycheck. That is devastating.
Exactly.
I mean, that is devastating.
Did you hear about the guy down in Florida that got his house repoed because he paid it off?
Oh, that happens.
Because he did not fulfill the contract of paying all that interest on the loan.
Yep.
He just took the money in and paid off the principal and was done with it.
Yep.
And they repossessed his home.
Yep. Because I mean, there's people that have gotten their houses booted out of their houses because they owed a $15 tax bill. I mean, it's just it's insane the level that it has come to in this country, and people need to, and everybody's well, that doesn't happen. Well, you know what? It's going to happen to you eventually. Everybody
nowadays you can't even get a job, or at least around here. Every place that I've ever talked to about a job around here, they're direct deposit. Well, you got a bank account, so we can direct deposit your paychecks.
Yeah.
So, it's like, good Lord, what happened to good old, give me some money and let me go home?
Well, yeah, they don't. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's insane, and I get it. And like I said, my argument, I hear it all the time. Well, that doesn't. I'm not worried about the NSA listening to me on the phone and stuff. It's like, you're not worried about it now, but when your information is then just given out because you're a radical, or because you believe a certain way, or because one thing about the political system in the United States is you pretty much guarantee every 8 years it swings to the opposite direction. So today you might be a liberal and you might be in the majority. In 8 years or 4 years from now, you're going to be in the majority. And the rules that were used to oppress the majority are now going to be used to oppress you. And it goes back and forth. Exactly. And that's why I'm a firm, staunch believer in the Constitution of the United States, because that doesn't care. That document and that belief system doesn't care who's in power. It treats everybody equally, regardless. And, it's like I said, good for the goose, good for the gander. It's coming. It's coming.
And taxes are voluntary anyway. The only reason why you have to pay taxes is because you sign an agreement. When you first get hired and you're filling out all them tax papers, well, you sign an agreement to pay taxes. That's the only way they're able to throw people in jail, because there's been 3 Supreme Court rulings on taxes, and all 3 of them have failed about taxes being unconstitutional. But you try to bring that up into the lower courts, and the lower courts actually got laws against bringing up the Supreme Court's ruling on that.
Well, because the problem is this, and I know that I actually fought the IRS on a tax issue. I went to battle with them for 7 years. 7 years. And I'm talking, they withheld everything from me. And it actually kind of worked out in the end, because I had student loans for my college. And what happened is that, I fought them, and I went to one of these tax preparation companies, and at that time I had a business, and we sold equity in the business to bring in another investor. Well, the IRS said, well, I profited from that selling of the stock to bring in this other investor. And I'm like, no, without getting a long story, I didn't. I did not. Even though it was my stock, I gave it up to the company. The company then sold it. The money never came to me. It went to the company. Well, the IRS said, well, I got that money. So we fought. Well, it was because I hired a company to do my taxes, and I trusted the guy that did it because that was their guarantee. So I signed the paperwork and I agreed to it, and I was like, crap, I got to pay this tax bill. And then after about a year, I was like, well, wait a minute. I went to another tax guy, and he's like, why did you pay this? And it's like, well, because, and he's like, no, that's not true. So I had to fight the IRS to get my money back. Well, the whole time that I was fighting them, I didn't get my other returns. They didn't give me my other money back because they said, well, and so eventually, like I said, we did this 7 years, and finally I filed all the paperwork. I went in front of the little tax, I went to the office in Chicago, filed the case and everything. I won the case, so they gave me back. Well, they said, Mr. Norton, you won the case. Oh, by the way, we noticed you got student loans here, so what we're going to do is do what they call a deferment, and the money, instead of giving the money back to you, we're going to pay off your student loans. I mean, exactly. I did get some. I got a lot of it back, but they use that to pay off the rest of my student loans. That's how it works. And then, being a small business owner, sometimes they'll come to you and say, well, your estimated tax is this. I have an issue right now where we don't sell retail anymore. It's all wholesale. You have to go through another gun dealer to buy our weapons. You can't buy a weapon directly from us anymore. You have to get it through you can order it, but it goes to the other dealer. The dealer then, pays for it and then sends us the money. But I have our revenue. They said, well, last year your sales tax rate was X. This is how much money you paid. So this year you owe us this. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I don't owe you that because we don't collect sales tax anymore. And so what they told me is I got to send them the paperwork to prove that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I just told you I don't collect sales tax. I'll send you the paperwork that says 0. And they're like, well, we find that hard to believe because last year you paid X amount of dollars in sales tax. This year you're paying 0. You're still in business. And it's like, well, because we sell wholesale. We sell to other dealers only. And even if you wanted to buy a firearm from us here locally, you still have to go to another dealer. We don't sell to you. Right. But of course they don't believe that. So now I got to file the paperwork to say 0, and for this year, and they said, well, because you didn't file the paperwork, you got to pay a penalty. It's like, how can I pay a penalty on something I don't owe? But that's the way they work. And if you don't pay it, they'll just go into your bank account anyways and take it
and pull it out. Yeah, I mean they got all the buttons.
Yeah, I mean they do.
So
exactly.
Well, anyway, I'm going to let you go, but I posted a link in your chat box for me. I was hoping you could add this guy to tonight's honor of the soldier. He was deployed 14 times, 4 times in Iraq and 10 times in Afghanistan, and he got killed. And so if you could kind of add that to your fallen soldiers thing, I'd appreciate that. And I appreciate you letting me take up some of your time, and I'll let you go, Jeff.
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you for calling. Actually, he's already. I will let you know. He's already in my. He's already in my list. so
yeah, and if you read this guy's record, it's just amazing. It's like, wow.
Yep.
He's got all kinds of medals and what have you, because I was sitting there reading it, and it's like, sorry to lose a guy like that. I mean, I'm not saying any one guy is worth more than the other guy. It's just, 14 times of going back to war.
Yep.
I don't know if I could do that. Could you?
I couldn't do it one. It's amazing the sacrifice that these men and women do for us, and actually, you know what? That's a great segue. So we'll just go ahead and kick right into that right now. So thanks, Joe, and thanks for calling, my friend.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, bye now.
Bye.
Mr. Joe. So you can actually join Joe. He's on patriotfb.com all the time. Pretty much he's on there just as much as I am. Probably more. I don't know who's got more points so far, me or him. But, that's a great point. Great segue for our American soldier. One of the things, I know we got some new listeners. One of the things that we will always do, as long as there are men and women out there who put on this nation's uniform, put themselves in harm's way, we will honor them. We will honor their sacrifices to this nation, and we grieve. We grieve with their families, and that's why we do this segment. And I ask you, get out to whatever website you got to go to. I get mine through the Military Times. Find a soldier in your neighborhood or in your community who has paid the ultimate price. Write their name down. Remember the bracelets we used to get for the POWs, but write their name down. Remember them on a daily basis. Remember them. Say their names out loud. Put a person behind the sacrifice in your prayers. Pray for their family. Pray for them. If you see a soldier out on the street, or if you see a soldier, whatever, walk up to them, look them square in the eye, and shake their hands, and let them know that you appreciate the service that they give to you. If you're an employee, and you're looking for someone to employ and stuff, hire a soldier. Put them back to work. Put soldiers back to work. This government is now targeting the men and women of our uniform. And, it's amazing. The commander-in-chief, the head of our United States military, is anti-military. And, of course, he's going to stand up there and say no, and he's going to parade a soldier around, and their combat experience, all that stuff, so he can get his props. But think about what this president, what this administration, not only the president, but this administration, this government has done to the men and women of uniform. 20% cut in their benefits. It's just unacceptable. 354 days on average before a soldier gets the service that they need. And the most appalling number, 22 soldiers a day commit suicide. 22 a day. So you tell me if this administration, this government is a friend of the United States military. I beg to differ. They are definitely not a friend of the men and women who put on this nation's uniform and fight for our freedoms in this country. You might agree with the wars. You might not agree with the wars. You might disagree wholeheartedly with the concept of the military, but you must remember, these are men and women, husbands, wives, sons, daughters, who have sacrificed themselves for this country, calling, there is no greater noble cause. You also got to remember, we talk about the Iraq and Iran war, Afghanistan vets. Got to remember the Vietnam, the World War II. Do not forget them, the Korean War. Don't forget them either. As they get up there in age and everything, we tend to forget as we grow older. Don't, remember them. If you see a vet, like I said, you want to put a smile on a vet and you want to feel good about yourself. And I know this. Walk up to a vet, look them square in the eye, shake their hands, tell them, welcome home, and thank you. It's all you got to say. I will tell you there is no greater feeling than doing that right there. It puts everything in perspective. And remember this. There is going to be a time, if you want to have a selfish need for this, other than just doing the right thing, there's going to be a time where we're going to need the men and women of the uniform. That's why our government is attacking them. That's why this government is labeling those that are honorably discharged so that they can't have firearms. They're scared to death because they know that you got individuals who are coming out who have seen the light. They've seen it. They know the truth. They went through the indoctrination in the meetings where they were told that Christian groups are anti-government and should be treated as such. They've seen it. And the government now knows, their game's out. It's out. It's out in the open. So, of course, they need to isolate these soldiers from us. Because these soldiers can tell you things. You ever have an opportunity to sit down and talk to a soldier? Talk to them. They'll share some light with you. They'll explain some things to you that won't make you proud. That's why they have a target on their backs. And it's a shame that they Not only did they have one as they were over deployed boots on ground, but they have them now when they come back to the States. So with that, we want to honor the men and women that have paid the ultimate price. Army Chief Warrant Officer 2nd Edward Bawley, January 20th, 2014. Army Specialist Andrew H. Sipple, January 17th, 2014. Army Sergeant Daniel T. Lee, January 15th, 2014. Army Chief Warrant Officer Andrew L. McAdams, January 10th, 2014. Army Sergeant Drew M. Scobie, January 10th, 2014. Army Sergeant First Class William K. Lacey, January 4th, 2014. And Marine Sergeant Jacob M. Hess, January 1st, 2014. Sergeant First Class Christopher DeMangi, October 21st, 2011.
Racing with the wind and the feeling that I'm under. Yeah, I gotta go make it happen. Take the world in a love embrace. Buy all of your guns at once and explode into space. Like a true nature's child, we were born, gonna be wild.
advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. You are listening to patriotfb.com. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
Seems everything I buy these days has got a foreign name. From the kind of car I drive to my video game.
I got a Nikon camera, a Sony color TV.
But the one that I love is from the USA and standing next to me.
My baby is American made, born and bred in the USA. From her silky long hair to her sexy long legs, my baby is American made. She looks good in her tight blue jeans she bought in Mexico. And she loves wearing French perfume everywhere we go.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. As we wrap up the evening, man, what a day. Man, it started out with AVN, with Michael Evans, his show. And then, of course, we had Thomas there with Republic from 10. Get out there and listen to that. Followed up with JJ. Now, I will tell you, JJ McCarty had, in the last 3 days, I don't know where your heads are at, guys. I will tell you. He is, all our shows have been great shows, but JJ has just put together some incredible guests and some great interviews, things that you're not going to be able to find. He had the Snowden interviews. And I will tell you that I have learned so much about Snowden from those interviews, listening to him and his guests and everything. I mean, JJ's hit out of the park. Outstanding day, in broadcasting. That's what it's all about. If you have not gone out and listened to JJ McCarty shows, his shows are a lot different than mine. I will tell you that right now. Get out there, go out to Patriot FB, go to Conservative Junction Radio and hit the replay button. And then you can actually select what show. But listen to today's show. Listen to all 3 shows that he did for this week. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Just incredible shows. Great guests. He's had just some phenomenal guests. And for, not to go out there and listen to him, it's just incredible. I don't get it. I don't understand. We talked about it at the very beginning of the show. I know a lot of you guys listen to Pandora and all that stuff. But you got to ask yourself, what is Pandora doing for the Patriot movement, for our movement? They're not doing jack. All they're doing is counting you and charging their advertisers. That's all they're doing. What we ask of you is the best way you want to support this movement is listen to the shows. And if there's a show that you listen to on a regular basis and we don't carry it here at patriotfb.com, let us know. We'd love to add them for you. Every one of the shows that we do on the here have been suggestions from other listeners. So if you get out to patriotfb.com, take a look, get out to the website, text me, message me. I'll reach out to them. We'll make it happen. We have Resurrect the Republic Radio now. It's a great, another great show talking about the 14th Amendment, the 18th. It's just, the amount of knowledge there, the amount of opportunity that we give you to educate yourself, to have a little bit of of knowledge when you walk into your hostile workplace. It is. Now if you go into work, it's amazing. You can go into work and, you got to recognize gay pride and all that stuff. But if you say what your opinions are, do they not realize that being gay is an opinion just like you not being gay is an opinion? Your beliefs? To allow someone to be gay or at the workplace, that's a belief system. And if you go in there and you say, well, I don't believe in it, then you're sitting in HR getting sensitivity training. But if you listen to our shows and you get the knowledge that you need, and you call in, we'll talk to you, show you how to do it, how to keep yourself out of trouble. No, we're not going to offer legal advice. We're not lawyers. That's not what we do. But we'll talk, we'll give you water cooler talk. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of not necessarily getting in people's faces. Now, I know there's other hosts on the PatriotFB.com radio that are in your face, but I'm not. I'm more of a, hey, when you wake up and you need someone to talk to, when you come out of your slumber, and so I'm here for you, man. I'm right over here. That's where I'm at. Come and see me. Love to talk to you. But you got to wake up first. It's kind of like an alcoholic or drug addict. You have to first admit you're powerless. You got to hit rock bottom. When you hit rock bottom, then, come on over. We'll have a conversation. We'll get you back on track, give you the tools that you need, point you in the right direction, and send you on your little merry little way. But, that's what it's all about. But I am surprised that JJ, like I said, just hit it out of the park, man, with his guest this week. Got to get out there. Got to get out there and listen to him. He's at 2 o'clock, 2 to 4, right here at PatriotFB.com. We're going to be adding some other shows here in the next couple days. Some more. Yes, we are getting it worked out. I do apologize. I only have so much time in a day, and when I'm fighting trolls and doing all the things that I have to do, it takes away from us adding the other shows. So on top of everything else that we've been doing, we actually set up a cloud system. So we have that going on too. So all of our co-hosts can have a central repository. So, there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts here at Patriot FB. Now, talking about, it's only appropriate to kind of end this with the show. Just want to let you know, almost all government agencies that came out, GAO, audits, almost every government agency has been hacked, has been infiltrated. 4 in 10 government security breaches go undetected. In other words, 40% of all the government sites is talking about, 40% go undetected. That means that things have, they went in there, they stole what they stole, and they left. Now, of course, they're all over the news about, Citibank and Target and all that stuff. But trust me, there's a lot more information in the government systems than there are in those. I can change your credit card number. I can't change your social security number. Right? That stays with you for life. And those are in those systems. It's only a matter of time before your medical reports, because you're enrolled in this thing called Obamacare, your doctor visits. You're going to go see a hematologist or oncologist or whatever, proctologist. It's only a matter of time before someone gets it and publishes it. Someone gets your email account and hijacks it. I got a letter today from another talk show where apparently a disgruntled employee has been hijacked an email and has been sending out emails acting to be or pertaining to be this individual. That it happens. You ever been a subject to identity theft? It is a pain in the butt. It's a pain in the butt. But right now they're saying 4 out of 10 government security breaches go undetected. 40% undetected. That means they don't even know. Well, is my tax, IRS stuff? We don't know. Remember, there's 40%. We don't know if you're in that 40%. Did my username and password and Obamacare? Well, absolutely. We know that did because hackers have already said they got it. You know? It's just amazing. Just amazing. I do want to talk about this as we wrap up. IRS, Treasury Department Secretary drafted rules to restrict conservative groups. There you go. There's an email out there. Oh, they didn't do nothing wrong. It was an innocent one department. You know, at what point does it become a conspiracy? And I'm not telling you it's tin hat conspiracy. I'm saying at what point does it come out in which if you have collusion amongst individuals, how many people does it take to have a conspiracy? 2, by the way. I just want to let you know that, by definition. But the government, the President of the United States, you know, being of a lawyer, there was no conspiracy. It was a foolhardiness. None whatsoever. It was just foolhardiness, overzealousness of these individuals. Really, Mr. President? Well, that's what the independent investigator. Okay, let's talk about your independent investigator. Campaign contributor, major. How independent is he? Because he knows that this one would actually be your demise. The fact that your administration used the IRS to attack American citizens, that's what, you know, once again, everybody says, well, the IRS, you know, they're picking on them. Well, yeah, you're damn right we're picking on you. Because you're a tool. You're a tool to inflict misery on people. When the IRS comes knocking on your door, it's not a pleasant sight. They scare you. They seize your bank accounts. They can seize you. And when you're sitting there across the table from them and they're asking you questions, do you have the right? Can you say, well, I plead the fifth? Well, of course, but your butt's still going to go to jail. So, you know, here we go. We got the email. IRS Treasury Department Secretary drafted rules to restrict conservative groups. Not groups, conservative groups. It was a targeted attack. It was a conspiracy. It's an email sent out amongst 2 people. Makes it a conspiracy by the legal definition. But, of course, we didn't have a conspiracy. How convenient, Mr. President. You know, $3 trillion, they were saying over the last week, over $3 trillion have been sucked out of the global stock market. Well, you know, it didn't get sucked out. It went somewhere. It went into someone's bank account. It's not a zero-sum game. When someone loses, someone wins, and vice versa. Now, granted, the money that they're playing with is all vapor anyways. Never really existed. So did anybody really lose? You know, of course, now we got bankers jumping out of buildings. I feel for their families. I do. You know, but that's what happens when you sleep with dogs. You do come up with fleas. One of the things that we are watching, we'll talk about this tomorrow with Prepper Recon as he joins us for Thursday's show. Scientists talk about a pandemic potential. And now a lot of people, oh, here we go again. Well, they're finding that the bird flu has its first confirmed human death. It is mutated. So we'll talk about that with Prepper Recon tomorrow. Join us here from 9 till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. For all those that are out there listening, all the new listeners, thank you for joining us. If there's anything we can do to make the show better for you, let us know. Get out to patriotfb.com. Join us there. Love to hear from you. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host,